Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Want to jump on here real quick and talk about something real quick. Um, I'm sure some of you know the Senate passed the big beautiful bill this morning, and it was supposed to have a lot of things that was promised us as Americans back before the election. And I'm going to focus on a couple of them today in this video, but the Hearing Protection Act and the Short Act is supposed to take short barrel rifles and shotguns and silencers off of the NFA. The House passed the big beautiful bill with all of that in it, and they sent it over to the Senate to be passed, and the Senate parliamentarian, she pretty much shredded a lot of it out of that, including those two bills. And then what she didn't shred, the Senate hacked the rest of it to death. So the other things that were pulled out too, which I'm going to show you here in a few minutes, that were put back in, but unfortunately those two didn't get put back in. They could have been overridden, the parliamentarian, on those, just like they did other things, or they could have fired or replaced her. J.D. Vance and John Thune, Majority Leader Thune, could have done that, either one. But they didn't do that on those two. And if you're like me, you're tired of these politicians, especially in the 2A community. We're tired of being promised a lot of things to get in office just to be let down later on. Especially for it to be so close on these two and then ripped out of your hands at the last minute. It's just, we got to stand up and start doing something about these politicians. No better time than now to start, because it's every election we get promised all this stuff, and people holler that they support the 2A community and all that, and then once they get in there and it's time to actually do something and pony up, then they kick the can down the road, or they hide, in this case, like behind the Senate parliamentarian. Well, there's no more kicking the can down the road. If you can put other stuff back in there and override her on those, why did they not do it on these two bills? So we need to start making phone calls, and we need to start making noise and let these people know, especially in the case of like J.D. Vance. He's going to be wanting all of us to come and vote for him in 2028. Well, you couldn't stand for us now in 2025. Why should we stand for you in 2028? So that's kind of where I'm at with this. I'm looking at it. But you got right here, you've got Mr. Dan Crenshaw, a closet Democrat, talking about how his amendment was struck by the parliamentarian to ban taxpayer funding for transgender treatments, and the Republican senators put it back in, which I don't agree with. Taxpayers paying for that stuff neither, and it should have been put back in. But if you can put that back in, and there was something else that was put back in too, I can't remember right off. I remember seeing Mr. Guns and Gadgets or Guns and Gadgets or Mr. Guns and Gear or somebody speaking about it. But if they can put all this stuff back in, why is it these two, the HPA and the Short Act, they're supposed to pull all the stuff off the NFA and get rid of the $200 tax stamp? Why could they not put that back in there? So, and then they keep acting like this is just such a win that they passed this bill, and a lot of people have been raising hell about it already. So the fact that they didn't even try, they did pass it with the $200 tax stamp was moved to zero, but you still have the registration or the registry. You have to still jump through all the hoops and all that to go through the FBI and the fingerprint and all this crap to get it. But instead of paying the $200 tax stamp like you did before, you don't have to pay that now. But they needed to got rid of all of it, took it off the registry, took it out of the NFA. The whole NFA needs to be gone. So I want to know why they didn't do that. But they did for other things. And then, like I say, they act like it's just such a win what they've done. But, Chip Roy had spoke about how the bill wasn't really good before, but it was passable. And since it got to the Senate, they pretty much just hacked it up and just made it to where it's just impassable now. This is Majority Leader John Thune here. Listen to this.
Mr. President, it's been a long road to get to today. More than a year ago, groups of Republican senators and staff began meeting to lay the groundwork for extending tax relief for hardworking Americans if we were given the opportunity. Mr. President, voters gave us that opportunity. And since we took office in January, Republicans have been laser-focused on achieving the bill before us today. And now we're here, passing legislation that will permanently extend tax relief for hardworking Americans. Mr. President, that will spur economic growth and more jobs and opportunities for American workers. That will rebuild our military, secure our borders, unleash American energy, and cut waste, fraud, and abuse in federal programs. With this legislation, we're fulfilling the mandate we were entrusted with last November and setting our country and the American people up to be safer, stronger, and more prosperous. Mr. President, no bill of this size comes together without a lot of very hard work. And I want to thank the committee members and the chairman who've worked for so long on this legislation. I also want to thank the committee staff and the leadership staff and the member staff who have put an incredible number of hours in putting this bill together. None of us would be where we are without our staffs. And nowhere in this is this more true than on this bill, which would not have come together without a lot of very late nights and early mornings and long afternoons of tireless work from staffers. And I hope, Mr. President, that they take pride today in what they've helped achieve for the American people. Mr. President, I also want to thank all the individuals who keep the Senate floor running and who worked overtime this weekend during consideration of the bill. That includes the cloakroom staff, the clerks, the doorkeepers, the Capitol Police, and the pages who stayed past the end of their session to help out. I am very, very grateful to all of you. And with that, Mr. President, I hope everyone manages to get some sleep. I look forward to the House taking up and passing this historic legislation and getting it to the President's desk.
Yeah, so see there, they think they really done something on that. You know, you put all this work and stuff in, as he says. But two of the biggest things that Americans wanted in there that shouldn't even be a thing anyway. The Second Amendment says shall not be infringed. But this is Chip Roy speaking on the Dana show. His post says, "We have the majority in the Senate. We should be acting like it. The truth is there are multiple senators happy to let the parliamentarian act as a fool to preserve the status quo. That's not leadership, that's service to the swamp." See what he has to say here.
Why can't the majority congressman tell the parliamentarian to step off, and long walk off a short pier?
Well, see, the point that I was trying to make is that we have the majority in the Senate. The reality is there's a block in the Senate who don't want to achieve all of the things that you and I want to achieve. They don't want to take the hard positions. They would love to hide behind the parliamentarian to not do the things that we all want them to do. That's what's really going on. Look, parliamentarian may be making some bad rulings, but then the Senate just needs to act. You can overrule, you can make better arguments, you can restructure the bill, you can draft it in such ways to make it work. But the bottom line is you can't just keep punting and then going, oh, well, it's the parliamentarian's fault, when you've got members of the Senate who are making policy choices. Right now, as we speak, Susan Collins, Lisa Murkowski, Tom Tillis, several others in the Senate are trying to offer amendments to strip away the improvements that we've gotten on the Inflation Reduction Act and the subsidies. They're trying to strip away the improvements we've gotten on Medicaid, because every Republican will always campaign on balancing the budget. Every Republican will look you in the eye, Dana, and say, oh, don't shut the government down. Don't worry about the discretionary spending. That's peanuts. We've got to go take care of the long-term spending, the mandatory spending, entitlements. Well, we've got Medicaid on the table, and Republicans are running to the hills because they're going back and listening to hospitals. They're saying, we can't do it without all that federal borrowed money. Yes, you can. We've got to restructure it so that only the vulnerable are getting cared for. The able-bodied aren't. You're no longer enriching the CEOs of these fat cat hospital corporations. You're no longer throwing money at insurance companies, and you're actually making states have skin in the game. That's what Republicans are trying to do with work requirements and reforms. We should go farther. And instead, the Senate wants to retreat. I know that's a lot, but the short version, if you're listening out there and you're taking your kids to summer camps or to school, that's what I'm doing. I'm balancing all that as a dad. And I'll just tell you this. If you don't know what to do with all this stuff, it's pretty simple. This bill, in my opinion, will raise the deficits in order to get some tax cuts that we want, some tax cuts that we don't necessarily need, some reforms that are good, but some reforms that we're leaving on the table. That's the bill. You say, well, is that a compromise? In my opinion, right now, it's not a compromise worth taking because the deficits are too high and we can't afford that anymore.
Yeah. He didn't mention the HPA or the Short Act in that, but he did talk about how they are kicking the can down the road, and how they could override on a lot of these things, rework them, whatever, to keep them in. If they just won't do it, they just hide behind the parliamentarian and say, oh, well, she took it out, like there's nothing they can do, but there is. And it's the same thing every time. And we have to stand up and start pushing back and telling them, no, not this time. If you want to keep your job, if you want re-election, then start doing what the people sent you there to do, what you promised to do. No more empty promises. Because, we're tired of it. And I know the 2A community, we're getting sick of asking for permission to have our rights. You got 9 MMSMG here had put this. It says, if the Hearing Protection Act and the Short Act are gone, I'm going to just refer to him as J.D. Pence from now on. At J.D. Vance at VP. You could have fixed this. Maybe you still can. Don't look to us in 28 otherwise, because you refuse to look out for us in 25. Gun owners are tired of voting for people who refuse to deliver us a single win. To have it ripped from us is unforgivable. And you've got J.D. Vance here holding an AR platform rifle. Well, he could have fixed that. Him and John Thune, either one, could have fixed it, but they didn't. Look at some of these comments. Same poster there. He says, I mean, the GOP couldn't even stop illegals from getting free health care, while citizens go into debt for basic medical care. You ain't wrong. God forbid we expect anything from our politicians instead of just being blind followers. Earl of the South, it was literally more important to the Trump administration and the GOP that Indians didn't have to pay remittance taxes on the money they send home to India than it was to fight for gun owners that have fought for them. Sean Moore, I foresee myself going back to not voting. We will see if reconciliation improves the situation, but I am pretty much done with Republicans. No, I will never vote for a Democrat. Pierce says, what makes you think he could have had the majority votes to override the parliamentarian when he had to cast a tiebreaker vote to pass the bill? This is on Thune. Alex Thrace, it's all fake. The Republicans are all posers and liars. Vance could have fixed this but chose not to. That says much. Uh, 57 Harrier strikes. Says, calm down. This is Congress. We are talking about passing anything not openly hostile to Americans is a win. And this bill has large positives with almost no negatives. That's just somebody accepting the status quo, accepting the norm. Well, we didn't get a win, but we didn't lose. People are tired of that. I'm tired of that. Come on, don't mutilate kids. Says, come on, he's the vice president. His role is to, when necessary, break ties in the Senate on behalf of the president, his boss. He is not there to subvert his boss's agenda, nor to argue on behalf of his own agenda. I don't know what they're trying to say with that. His boss, Trump's agenda was supposed to be to fight for the 2A community, for the American gun owners. They've all made promises to fight for gun owners. And here was a chance for them to do that. And they didn't. They just laid down. The Dr. Suss, what did we expect? He's taking a cool bro gun photo with no optic and folded down sights. It was always a psyop. Yep. Andrew, if I'm hatchet your name, I'm sorry. Andrew Baltasconis. He got a taste of swamp water and became a swamp thing. JR, he's a politician. They only care about keeping their cushy jobs and or increasing influence, power, money. I thought he was different though. Yeah, me too. You nailed the nickname, JD Pence, stabbing us in the back, armslist.com. Seems that way. Patriot says they either fix it or lose everything in the primaries. They think they can kick us in the ass, toss us a scrap, and make us thank them for it. You're right on there, Mr. Patriot. Some guys post. They don't care about re-election. The Dems gave Stacey Abrams $1 billion in taxpayer money. Imagine all the graft both sides are doing in the background. Frank the Wizard. Once again, they are proving there is no voting our way out of these problems and issues. Chromium 4500. JD Pence has an appropriate ring. Do the right thing to save your name, JD. Not the goon. If this isn't fixed, I will never vote for JD Vance. Michael. He said JD Pence. LMAO. I wish the HPA and short had passed too, but it's not a big enough deal to me to throw the baby out with the bathwater. We've got legitimately more important shit to worry about than suppressors and braceless SBRs. That's kind of small potatoes compared to the larger battle. Aristophanes. Well, I disagree with you because if it doesn't matter if we have bigger battles or not. When you make a promise, you should stick to your word. So, and to you, you have bigger battles. This was a big battle to some of us. And like I said, they didn't even really fight for it. It was, all these other bills that were pulled out that were overridden and put right back in. This one, when the parliamentarian pulled it out, they didn't try to override it. They didn't get rid of her and replace her. They didn't do none of that. And if Trump had come out and demanded that these two bills be put back in like he does on a lot of other stuff when he demands it, these Republicans trip over each other to do it. But Trump, J.D. Vance, all these Republicans, none of them pushed or fought to keep these bills in and to get them passed the way they were. So this was a big battle for some of us. And honestly, they shit the bed. So, I disagree with you. Crypturu says, agreed, J.D. Vance has betrayed the gun-owning public. I mean, you can just see there's a lot of different comments down through here that, I mean, people are upset. People are tired. We're tired of the making empty promises just to pretty much get nothing. It seems like every day the government's taking more and more power from the people. and they can't give anything back but half-baked or empty promises. So, everybody's got to decide for themselves what they're going to do. But for me, and a lot of people, like the one gentleman said, I'll never vote Democrat. But we got to stop voting for these Republicans that just promise us stuff to get into the office and then don't follow through on their promises. We need to start. Well, once these people see that, hey, I can't promise this stuff and then not fulfill my promise, because then I'm going to get voted back out. I'm going to be a one-term senator. I'm going to be a one-term congressman, a one-term president. Then we can start holding them accountable. You promise this, when you get in there, you better at least try to do it and really fight and try to do it. Because if you just go in there and then don't even try and just lay down and not, just betray the people, that'll be the one and only term you're going to serve, because we're going to get rid of you. But the Senate passed it. They hacked it to death and passed it. So now it's got to go back to the House. And what we need to do is we need to call our congressman and tell them not to pass the bill as it is coming back from the Senate. They need to put the HPA and the Short Act back in it the way it was to start with, and then send it back to the Senate and let them know that as long as they keep cutting it out, they can cut it out and pass it and send it back 100 times. They're just going to put it right back in it and send it back, and then they will do it, and let them know that from now on, these empty promises and stuff, we're not standing for it no more. You can call your congressman, you can call your senators, go on social media, make YouTube videos, whatever. We got to start getting more involved in our government, from the president all the way down to, your local mayors and stuff. They're all getting out of hand. I'm going to be making another video later about, I'm from Tennessee, a little bitty, we don't even have a caution light or a red light in my little town here. But Tennessee, along with, I think, Alabama and maybe some other states, they're banning stuff, sort of like Texas just done with the hemp products and stuff. They let all these companies open up and start making this stuff, and maybe a year later, now they're wanting to ban it all again. And I seen where a reporter had asked a sheriff from Texas, what happens to all these companies? I guess they just go out of business. Well, for one, we're Americans. This country was supposed to be built on freedom. If we're not free to decide for ourselves if we want to smoke a cigarette, if we want to vape, if we want to wear a seatbelt, anything that has to do with us that we don't hurt nobody else, if we're not free to decide what we want to do for ourselves or not do for ourselves, then we're not free. And we are losing more and more freedom every day, because I understand everybody's got busy lives. We work, we do this, that. We've got so much going on. But they count on that. They count on us to not pay attention to what they're doing and what's going on, at least until it's too late. We got to start taking a more active role in our government. We got to start letting them know when we're unhappy about something. The Democrats can't be the only ones raising hell. We don't go out and burn stuff down and attack people and all that. That's things they do. But we can definitely get on social media, make videos, make phone calls, whatever we have to do, and keep the pressure on them to let them know, hey, we're not happy. We don't like this. And we'll start seeing some changes. But as long as we just sit and, complain about all these damn senators or whatever, nothing's going to change. It's going to keep getting worse. You have to let them know that you're unhappy and keep pressure on them. So, if anybody that can, just you call your senators or congressmen, go on Truth Social and send Trump a message on there. J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance, you can call J.D. Vance's office at 202-456-1414. Again, that's J.D. Vance's office, 202-456-1414. And you can call your congressmen and your senators. The Capitol switchboard is 202-224-3121. And you can tell them the name of the senator or congressman you're wanting to talk to, and they can connect you. Or if you're not sure who your senator or congressman is, they'll help you figure out who it is and connect you. That Capitol switchboard number, again, it's 202-224-3121. But this is our government, folks. They're supposed to be there working for us, doing, the will of the people. We are the people. And it's about time we remind them that we are the people. We are taxed to death, and literally the first taxed and the last considered, if even considered at all. We need to change that. So, make your phone calls, make videos, make social media posts, whatever you got to do. But let these people know that you're not happy and you want change. Because that's the only way we're going to get it. I appreciate everybody, watching the video. If you do me a big favor, hit that like button, subscribe, watch for other videos to be coming. Like I said, I'm going to make a video either probably this evening or in the morning about what's going on with the Tennessee government, where I live at, and a lot of stuff's going on there. If you live in Tennessee or you want to know what's going on in Tennessee, look out for that video. Turn your notifications on so you know when it drops. And let's get on it. We gotta start working together and taking an active role in fixing this. Not just for us, but for our kids and grandkids, because there's going to come a day where our kids are old enough and they're going to be out trying to survive in this country. And I want to be able to hand my kids and grandkids a future that's a lot better than it is now. So, but I appreciate it. Like I said, if you don't care to like the post, share it, subscribe, turn your notifications on, and just watch for the next time I drop a video. Come on back. I appreciate it, and everybody have a good rest of your day. Thank you.